Welcome to the Dave Kinney Show.
Yo. Yo, what's good, everybody? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. What's good? What's good? All right, y'all. So again, this is another another week of busting it up, man. And so we have the fellas in the building today. We back. No, we back. So tonight's we want you to share tonight's episode. Tonight's gonna be a good, interesting conversation. And so those of you who already have tuned in, those of you that may have tuned in and seen the topic, we want you to just stay tuned because it may not be what you think it is. And if it is what you think it is, then let's kind of just have some live conversation about it. So share this broadcast, share this live session, and let's get it popping. We're gonna start with what's good. So how y'all feeling today? How everybody feeling today?
Nostalgic.
It's a good word.
That's a good word. What's the definition, bro?
Man.
I knew he was gonna say that.
Oh, nostalgic.
I just felt like saying it because it sounds good.
So, y'all ever saying anything already? Y'all ever saying anything already? Man, we haven't get started yet. Oh man. All right, cool. So what's good, Dave? What you got for us? We're gonna start with a.
All right, so we talking about the white man. Peace to all my brothers. Shalaikum shalom. No, I'm just playing. So our topic though is about race, right? What's the name of the topic?
This dude.
I think I came up with it too. That's bad if I don't remember it.
No, so the topic and what we have in the status is the white man is, and how what our kind of context today is really talking about how we oftentimes equate the white man as the problem. And so today we're going to kind of just dive into and have conversation around just that particular context as we kind of just sit around and kind of talk about excuses somewhat things that we put out there to not allow us to kind of be accountable to one another. So that's where we're headed tonight.
So my first question for the fellas is, have you ever felt inferior to the white man? And answer honestly, whether it be in a workplace, in a hood, anywhere. Have you ever felt inferior to the white man?
I'm gonna say I didn't feel. I don't think I've ever felt inferior, but I felt uncomfortable.
What made you uncomfortable?
Not used being in that setting. As far as like even for the job that I work now, I'm one of the only black people there. So I don't think they're better than me, but they'll be uncomfortable sometimes. Yeah, because they got a whole way. They be talking about wineries and stuff like. You know what I mean? I don't have any conversation pieces with them because I come from a different.
So you can't. So you can't relate to a lot of stuff they relate to.
Exactly. Yes, I can't relate.
Charles, have you ever felt inferior to the white man?
I would say yeah, I did. I would say growing up, what things were said about the white man, and there were things that were implied by the white man that they were actually better than us.
Absolutely.
And in certain even in how they talked, when we come around the workplace, they would start using other words like talk about equities and man, all I know is about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln.
Shout out to Jordan ones on my feet.
George Washington was
this
famous in
podcast
church.
is sponsored by.
No, but for real, like I always felt like especially as a black man trying to maybe ascend the corporate ladder or whatever, it was always difficult because the more knowledge you come into, like you have to network, you have to engage. But it becomes hard because the more you try to engage, it's just like you can kind of tell, like, dude, like you're going to be a this, this, and this, and that's it. And they don't say that, but they imply that with friends, And so I'm not saying it was always, like that, because there's some people who was white that was super cool. Mm-hmm. But I think my idea of what the white man was, maybe at 18 and 19, was like, oh, they think they're better than us. And sometimes when I walk into their space, I acted like they thought that they were better than us. And I just did not ever engage with them.
So your perception was your reality
at that time, yeah.
All right. So how about you, Nate?
So the question is, have I ever felt like the white man was inferior?
Have you ever felt inferior to the white man, like below or subpar?
Yeah. To be honest, I would say yes. And that yes comes from honestly like society. Growing up, I really didn't pay too much attention to racism because again, most of my time was spent in school and in church. And so in church, we really didn't talk about like racism or anything of that nature. It was just like God and you know what comes along with that conversation. And so racism for me really wasn't a thing until I went off to school. Well, then when I went off to school, I actually went to a predominantly all-white school. I was maybe 4 or 5, the fifth. And I was when I graduated from Waynesburg, I think there was only 5 Blacks in that class, and so for 4 years, I was in and amongst a predominantly white school, and so there would be times where my white counterparts would point out racism to me because I was really naive to it. To be honest, I looked at it like, all right, this person must just be having like a bad day or something. Like they're not intentionally being racist towards me just because of the positivity that I always try to like give, or the grace that I always had in reference to people. I never wanted to look at it like this person is intentionally just being facetious or being rude or just being racist towards me for the color of my skin. And so, and then after that, I then became more aware of what that looked like, what that felt like. And then the society, social media began to kind of push these things into more existence and into the reality. And so, yeah, then when I would go back and make assessments, I'm like, okay, there's a kind of a place of feeling inferior in this situation.
Got you. Want to see? I like those chains too.
Thanks.
I pity the fool.
This dude, man. Right. How about you? Have there been times where
I got the best answer? I'm gonna save it for last. So my second question.
This dude, man. If you don't.
So, all right. So my second question then is the reverse.
How you just still gonna go just skip it like?
well, because my answer is gonna tie into both questions. Though.
Okay.
So my second question is: have you ever felt superior to the white man?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I'm ready to answer now. Yeah, so for me, yes and no, right? So growing up, I grew up in the Hill District, right? And so we didn't see white people. So the only time we saw white people were sometimes the Mormons would come around and try to minister to us. But then we had a college campus close to our neighborhood, University of Pitt, and they feared us. They were scared to come where we were. So and we would, just do knucklehead stuff to them. And so growing up, I felt like I was superior to them. Like we all have that story, like, or I'm pretty sure at this time we all felt like, man, I ain't losing a fight to no white boy. You know what I mean? Like growing up, that's what it was. So I felt superior to them. But then and then even all through high school, like, we were loud and I don't even know if flamboyant is the word to use, but loud and boisterous and everything else. and they were more standoffish and quiet. And, you know, sometimes we would bully them in school. But then when I got in the workforce and I became an electrician, there was a negative stigma that Black electricians weren't better than white electricians. And then they would make fun of the way we talk. Like, for instance, I remember getting into it with one guy because he heard me and another Black dude talking, and I said my raise, referring to my mom. He's like, "Your raise? That sounds dumb." And I'm like, "But I'm so quick with it." I'm like, "Well, you call your mom's sister an insect?" He's like, "What?" I said, "You just said your mom's sister was your aunt." I'm like, "That's your aunt, not your aunt." You know what I mean? So I'm so quick with it. So then there was a short period of time.
What did you say? You call her an aunt?
Because he's like, "Yeah, my aunt Mary." I'm like, "Oh, your mom's sister's an insect, huh?" You know what I mean? Just you know what I mean? So I'm so quick with it, and I always got to come back this, like, you know what I mean? So it went from me feeling like I was inferior for a split second to me, you know what? I'm going to do everything I can to prove that I'm just as good, if not better. And then I have this complex too that, man, I'm better than you anyway. You know what I mean? Like, as far as electrical goes, you know what I mean? So then it went from feeling like I'm inferior to once I, you know, got the swing of the ropes. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm better than y'all for real. And to be honest, in that kind of industry, like, you have to be just as good or twice as better to even like make a career for yourself as an electrician. So yeah. So I'm better than. No, I'm just playing. So to answer the question, have y'all ever felt superior to the white man?
Yeah, definitely. It just physically, for sure.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, you know, he come at me crazy. I'm like, go ahead.
Right,
Like,
right.
You know what I mean? But on an intellectual level, I think I am, because I don't know. I don't know how to explain it really. I don't know how to explain it really, but yeah, definitely have felt that I was superior or am superior.
How about you, Charles?
I would say yes, because, you know, the more you grow into yourself and you learn things, you realize, like, dude, like, you just as smart or smarter than most of the cats that you hang around.
Right.
You just was afraid to be you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I'm coming into rooms now, and, you know, before I would go into a room, I was just kind of hanging the back. I go to the room, walk right to the front, and say, "Let's go. Let's have this conversation because I'm ready to go." And I think that's, you know, once you like kind of rest and relax into who you are, and you really realize like your gifts or your strengths. Because, you know, growing up, we didn't really know what we were gifted at or what we were good at. Like, you know, I love making connections. That's my thing. Like, I like people. I love people. So like that's my thing. So in that, I'm better than, well, I ain't gonna say Bill Gates because he's rich. I'm still trying to get there. But like at the same time, you know, it's just like once you realize who you are and once you're confident in who you are and about your gifts and abilities, ain't nobody gonna touch me on that. Now, once I get outside of my lane, you know, I gotta kind of measure up and see how I can finagle. But once I'm in my lane, I don't think no one's better than me.
I think that the one thing I noticed about you too, Charles, and I think this is like something good that's going for you, is like, I've never been in a room with you and not laugh. You know what I mean? So you can make somebody laugh and break the ice, and it makes you feel comfortable about, like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah. So how about you, Nate?
Yeah, so I think I've never so as I kind of think of the question and like listen to you guys' explanation, I don't think I've ever like sat in a space and felt like I was better than like the white man or superior than the white man.
Not on the basketball court?
Not even on the, like I feel like I've never I feel like I very seldomly kind of have like that perspective that like I'm better than, right? Like and one, like I'm not a huge talker. You know what I mean? Like I'm more of a doer. Now, like maybe mentally, I'm just like, this person is not about to like they're, if we're in the basketball court, this dude is not about to cross me. Like I'm about to, I'm about, like this dude is just not about to. You know what I mean? But like I don't think I've ever sat there and just like, I'm better than this person. I think there's been times where I've been in spaces with where white people were, and they were occupying that space. And there's times where I'm like, I can do what they're doing, or yeah, like I can do that. Like, but I don't think, very rarely, and if I have, and I could be wrong, and so God, if I don't remember, please call it to my remembrance. But like, I very seldomly do I like, I'm better than this person or I'm better than them. And I just think that's just always just kind of been my nature, because I feel like I'm confident for the most part in my abilities to just, to do whatever it is that I'm doing. Have I walked in spaces and I felt like people felt like I was superior? Absolutely. And I think that comes with a confidence. You know what I mean? Like, when, especially for Black men, when you walk into spaces and you have a confidence about yourself, and they already have a idea about Black people in general, then it's a conflict in their mind. Like, how could this individual who's doing this have this confidence, and we're expecting them to be not able to articulate, not able to kind of carry conversation, not to be able to talk about wine, not to be able to talk about where they have traveled, what they have done. Even when you go into restaurants, I hear friends say it all the time. They go into restaurants, even here in the city, and they feel inferior because it's predominantly all white. When I go in those spaces, honestly, I'm happy. Like, I'm sitting down to eat, but I also, for me, I think of it like this: like, I'm happy because, like, these are spaces that I've never like imagined being able to kind of go to when I was like young. Like, I never thought about getting on airplanes. I never thought about, being able to kind of eat these kind of foods when I was young. It was always like the struggle, so on and so forth. So when I go into spaces, I'm not caring about the people that's in that space with me. Like, they might be caring about me, but like, I'm really caring about enjoying like my space.
Yeah. So I guess I can expound on my answer a little bit. It's not that I think that I'm better, but at times I feel like I'm more mature. Because there's this perception about Black men in general, like he was saying, and one of them has to do with hair. I came to the realization that I'm gonna do what I want to do. Period. No, seriously, I'm mature, but you got a lot of these laws and stuff that are made are, to me, made out of immaturity when it comes to race. Because not all white people, but in general, when these rules were made, they were made out of pettiness. To me, when Black people started getting we started getting freedoms and stuff like that, they made these petty things like your hair has to be this way, this has to be that way, and you hear this a lot in high schools where you have young men with long hair that can't graduate or get their diploma because they got long hair. You can't go to the school unless you cut your hair. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? So to me, it's not that I think I'm superior. I think I'm more mature, a lot more mature than a lot of white people, because when they look at me, it's, oh, he's a Black man with long hair. You know what I mean? But when I look at them, I was like, okay, he's a dude, she's a girl. You know what I mean? I don't look past that, but I can see that people look past that with me. And for a long time growing up, because of that, and this goes back to the inferior part, feeling inferior, I would do things by the norm, the standard, I should say, the standard. But once I start coming into my own, and this goes back to even the religious part. You know what I mean? Once I came into my own, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what I feel like I want to do, and that's just it. And it was just a maturity thing. Like, okay, if I want my hair long, I'm going to grow my hair long. That's not going to change who I am or what I do. And if you can't see past that, that's your fault, not mine. You know what I mean? So there was the confidence and the maturity. I feel it doesn't make me superior, but at the same time, it can make them look inferior. Right? You get what I'm saying?
So where do we, like, now in society, and we were talking about earlier, but like this context of the white man versus like the black man. Like, where do you guys like sit with that context? Because it seems like, you know, I would say like growing up, to give context, and sometimes even now, as black men, and even in movies and just in society, one of the first reasons or excuses that we use as a culture, and oftentimes as black men, is the white man doesn't want, or the white man has kind of put these barriers in place, which causes, or which has created A, B, and C. So what are your thoughts on that?
To me, it goes back to the maturity thing, because as a culture, the white people have put roadblocks in front of us. That's out in the open. We all know that. Whether it's moving to a certain area, redlining, whether it's getting a job, or whatever it may be, it is there. You know what I mean? So nobody's saying it's not there, but then to me, that's when it comes back to the maturity level. You know what I mean? Because if you're not mature, the first thing you're going to do is blame. You know, instead of taking responsibility for who you are and what you're doing. When you're not mature, like my kids blame each other all day for everything instead of taking responsibility for something they did. I can see my youngest daughter do something. I ain't do it. Well, Chief, I've just watched you do it. But obviously she's 7. You know what I mean? So she doesn't have the maturity to be like, you know what, Dad, I did do it. You know what I mean? But I think for me, it just goes back to the maturity. And I think our culture is not, we're not, as a culture, we're not as mature as I think we should be, to be able to say, let me take responsibility for me. Regardless, we know they got the roadblocks out there, but as long as I take responsibility for myself and what I'm doing, as well as the people around me, like we was talking about before we even, you know what I mean? I think that's one of the main things. And that's where I stand with that.
So I'm at conflict with it because I feel like there's this struggle. The one struggle is we feel like men, well, I'll say black men, because I'll speak for myself, that we always have to prove that we're better than. I don't even know where it comes from. I think because was passed down to us that they think they're better than us and we got to do this. You got, son, you got to do it. Like it was beaten into us that they don't like you, so you better outdo them or you'll never get anywhere. And I think that mentality was pushed into our system, our culture, everything that we eat. Football, whether it was sports, whether it was, school, wherever it was always passed to us that we had to be better than. And on the flip side, there's this thing with me, like, so why do I have to be anything but who I am? Like, why can't I just be Charles? Not a black man. Well, I'm a big black man, whatever it is, what it is. But at the same time, like, why can't I just be Charles who, has 3 kids? And why does it have to be a black and white thing? And I think, that struggle is just like, I mean, it is what it is. Race exists, racism exists, colorism, all that stuff, it all exists. But I think at this point in life, I can't allow racism, colorism, anything to deter me from what I'm supposed to do. And so at times, like I would fight myself about like or overdo things. And a lot of times, I feel like I will over be Charles just to prove that I'm this or write stuff. Have you guys ever like wrote something that someone white was going to listen to and try to like add a big word in to look more intelligent, like versus like that's not how I write or talk, like you know what I mean? Like I have to check myself because in my email I start to be like and you have to understand that and legitimize it. And I'm like, dude, just say what you want, like, and tell them and get moving. And so it's like we always have to feel like we have to prove that we're intelligent and prove that we're like, dude, Charles, you're dope and you have incredible ideas and you don't have to make yourself, And I think once we I don't know, man. It's just a conflict that I have, like that I always have to prove that I'm better than, a white man. Now, I don't like fight that battle a whole lot now because I'm not competing with a white man anymore. Like at my job, all of us is African American. We're all pretty much for the most part Christian, and in this, and we don't hide from that. So it's just like I'm in my space. I'm in my little niche, and there's no competition now when we're communicating with external partners that are like Caucasian. You have to like, and then they'll start talking to you like, well, wait a minute, this little black organization, who they think they're talking to? No, we're not doing X, Y, and Z until you give what we desire, and it shouldn't, not because we're black, but because this is what we deserve as an agency, and so yeah, I mean that's a conflict that I struggle with almost daily. The inward fight: am I better than someone, or why can't I just be Charles? But when I know now that they don't see me just as Charles, they see me as a black man. Like for instance, when I first moved to Murrayville, we talked about this earlier. The first night when you move into Murrayville on our street, they have like this cul-de-sac party, and they ask you to come outside. They invite your kids outside. Everybody wants to meet you. Like, bro.
Oh, you didn't made it.
Hey,
oh, you didn't made it.
No, like, what y'all want?
Oh, you didn't made it.
Not at all.
Right, because of the projects. You
Look,
know,
look.
like,
You didn't made it.
For them balls, now we here. No, no, but for like we're outside, and they're like, so like, what do you do? And like, what does your wife do? I'm like, I'm about to say sell drugs. Like, why y'all sitting here questioning me like what I do? Who do I work for? Pretty much, they want to know how can we afford to pay for this in X, Y, and Z. I mean, they want to know. But it's just like, dude, I remember going to the house like, babe, like that was nice of them to do that. But you think it was a little odd. Like, I wonder everybody on the street get the same treatment. Like, do they call every boss outside? What do you do? Which wife's profession? Where does your son work at? He's 5. What job he got? How could you all afford it? Like, it was crazy. Like, they play sports.
But don't you? But it seems like because I think we do that somewhat just culturally, like not allowing people like in our space because we're so I don't want to say reserved. We're just so like we don't like people in our business, and so there are people, and for them, they share their information. Where for us, it's like I don't want to give you this information because I don't know or trust what you're gonna do with it. So now you might be taking what it is that I'm doing. You might take my name and try to go Google it and try to see, X, Y, and Z. And so that's why like we're so like resistant to something like that. Whereas I mean, in spaces that you trust, you're going to be like, yo, this is what I do, X, Y, and Z. Or even in other spaces, when you're a doctor, you can't wait to be like, I'm Dr. Charles Sledge. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's like you know what I mean? Like I'm such and such, or I'm MD or X, Y, and Z. But for like we try to pick what spaces that we want to be superior in, rather than like figuring out what that looks like. Yeah. So what about you, bro?
So kind of just to piggyback off what TJ and Charles said, TJ, I think you were saying like we know, or maybe it was Charles, I don't know, but we know like racism exists, and we know there's certain roadblocks out there. But I like so there's two things. One is accountability, right? So we know there's racism, we know there's roadblocks. However, we know there's gravity too, right? But that never stopped Spud Webb from dunking. We know there's gravity, but that never stopped the Wright brothers from flying an airplane. So it's like we know that's there, and we know we have to maneuver with it. That's no longer an excuse. One thing that I'm like grateful for, like I learned from white people, in all honesty, was like a sense of entitlement. Like just the entitlement that they have. Like I like even like going into a dealership. Like I remember whenever I purchased my first car, and this guy's like, my credit score is a 650, and then you better give me this APR and da da da. I'm like, whoa, Bucko over there talking crazy, and my credit score is 680. I better get, I mean. So then when dude came back out, like, yeah, we could do this. I said, no, you better do this. My credit score is a 680. That, you know what I mean? So it was just stuff like that. So I think like one of the main things I learned was like a sense of entitlement. Like even like I had to flex it at the casino the other day. Like I'm like dude, I checked my car. I had like $25 like free play. And I'm like, man, I come here, I spend all this money that I said, y'all better put some free play on my dip. He's like, you know, we're going to give you a comp meal and we're going to give you $500 free play. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? Just like flexing my entitlement. And that's something I learned at an early age from white people. And like, it works for me till this day. Like, so I never like sell myself short because yeah, like I learned a sense of entitlement. Then I don't use that excuse. Well, the white man, this, the white man that. Like I know there's going to be roadblocks there, and on this journey, it's like I'm no longer using that excuse. I'm gonna get it done by any means necessary. So
yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah, like I feel like of course there's roadblocks based upon the generation that I mean just the world, that culture that we have been created in, and that, you know, how if we go back in history and all of that stuff, you know what I mean? Like we recognize that for many of them, their mindset is that they are superior than us. But for me, I actually have oftentimes leaned from a faith-based kind of perspective from it. Whereas, you know, I understand kind of the superiority when it comes to like white men and versus like black people. But I'm always in my mind, like, how do we kind of come to like a level playing field? Like, because oftentimes I feel like culture-wise, that the aim for us is not really equality, is that we kind of succumb to a level of superiority, so that, again, as you stated, so that we can kind of like prove ourselves. Like we can have what you have and we can do what it is that you can do. We can go wherever it is that you can do and X, Y, and Z. Whereas I think, as you stated, like, why can't we just live our lives, and how those lives kind of like unfold and how it begins to kind of just unravel. It just allows us to kind of show and to see rather just our responsibility as Black people, more importantly, as Black men. But I think what it comes down to is the necessity of accountability. Like, I think one of the missing factors for us, cultural wise, and more specifically as Black men, is our inability to hold each other accountable, opposed to allowing us to kind of forget about the excuses of the barriers, because the barriers are going to exist. But if I see you, Dave, not being a good father to your son, then I think it's our responsibility to be like, yo, bro, like, I don't care, you know, how dope you think that you are. I don't care, you know, what you're doing as it relates to what you're posting about, but like, you're neglecting like your son, vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm not doing well, or you guys see me interact with my daughter in public or something that's like, yo, like, you maybe shouldn't have did it like that. You know what I mean? Like, you should have maybe thought about, or maybe, bro, hit me up on the phone like, bro, I seen how you interacted with your daughter, and I seen how, you know, she kind of responded to that. Maybe you should like try another method, or, you know what I mean, X, Y, and Z, because if you're not careful, this is what that's going to be. So we all being accountable, even like with, you know, the whole marital thing, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, y'all two married, like, you know, y'all two married. So like,
Fair once.
but even with your failure, to be able to reach back and say, from a space of transparency, bro, this is where these are the areas that I wasn't strong in. This is perhaps why the first ones did not work, or X, Y, and Z, how, whatever the cases may be, to be able to educate us to say, like, y'all not married yet, this is what y'all should be careful for, this, you know, so on and so forth. And so that's why I think us being accountable to each other allows us to forget about the barriers and the entrapments that are already set by the white man, but it allows us to be strong and strengthen our core. You know what I mean? Because we're thinking about the external, where it's just like, what about the internal? And us as a culture internally, we got some bad parenting methodologies. We have some bad parenting, like bad marital ideas and concepts that like we have yet to kind of really deal with from the outside. You know what I mean? From the inside out, rather.
Well, I do want to say something that you said, and it makes a good point that I think that the reason why it's hard for people like, well, for you to come and call me and say, "Hey, man, what's up?" Like you in error is because like we're always in conflict with our own. Like we're so busy trying to prove to the whiteys, I'm saying, like that we're here, but we got someone right here, like we got our brothers right here that, you know, and we haven't really learned, you know, let's just take it spiritual, that if someone is below us, that we should strengthen our brother and not look down on them like, well, your opinion doesn't matter because I'm in Murraysville. You out there living down at 15104 still down at the trap house. Like I should never had that mentality to where I feel as I'm too big for someone to say, you know what, Charles, maybe you got it wrong. And I should be, like TJ said earlier, mature enough to say, you know what, dag, like you right, bro, like and try to adjust. But I think our attitude is that as black men, as long as I make it, we really don't really care about the next one. Because like I have become, I was talking to my wife about this a few weeks ago, desensitized to the news. Because I'm just so used to hearing about another black man being shot and killed to where it's like, oh, okay, that's just the latest. Like it doesn't anger me anymore. And I was like, well, ask myself, like, why am I not upset anymore about like the things that are happening? It's because I'm removed from that now. Like my physical location doesn't affect me. Now, when I was living in Penn Hills or when I was living in Braddock, whatever, where it could have been me walking home from school and shot or whatever, and, you know, I was always on alert. But now I'm not on alert as much, and I should always be worried and concerned about my black brothers, you know, being shot or gunned down. And so I just feel like, you know, we have to really just grow up, and as black men, you know, we got to do better.
You know, one thing I notice as our culture too is like we're no longer like I've been saying this for a while, and I feel like this, but I feel like we're moving towards like a dispensation of truth, and so like we're no longer bound by a lot of the lies that we were told. You know what I mean? Like like even like for instance, like, oh, your hair is nappy. Well, your hair is real thin. I mean, like you know
Your hair
what I mean?
is boneless.
You know what I mean? So like we no longer believe a lot of the lies that we were told, you know, generation after generation. And I feel like that's dope. Like I feel like that's dope.
I think being able to be held accountable is a big part of that. Because it's easy to hold somebody else accountable, but being able to be held accountable or hold, you know, and being humble, you know what I mean? And it's to the point now where I try my best not to argue with anybody, whether it's my wife, anybody. I don't argue. So, because my thing is this: if I see that you're doing something or something, and I express that to you, as soon as you do that, we have nothing to talk about. Because instead of understanding what I'm saying to you, you're so busy trying to pull something out to throw back at me. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, okay, yeah, you know what, bam, I did do that. Okay, cool. Now, when you check me, I got to be mature enough to not want to throw something back, but to catch what you're saying to me. You know what I mean? And trying to understand where you're coming from. And if I don't understand, then we can have a conversation about it. Well, why do you feel like that? Why you feel like I did that wrong? This, that, and the third. You know what I mean? Instead of changing the subject, because that's what happens a lot of times. You know, when it comes to trying to hold somebody accountable. You know what I mean? If their maturity isn't there, not humble, you know, they don't have the humility to accept it, then there's no point in even having a, you know, discussion.
So it comes down to, from what you're describing, is like a being defensive.
Yes, being
and
defensive.
So being open to a person being able to critique you or to criticize you.
Yes.
And I think as men,
I was about to go there.
As men, it's challenging for us to really take criticism because as men, we recognize that there's a lot against us as men.
Yeah.
And so with being all of these things that's against us, and I was having this conversation last week with my cousins and my sister about what I believe is the plight of the Black man, right? The plight of the Black man, I feel like there are layers to it. Whereas you have society who has the expectation of the Black man, right? Like you have society. Then you have more so the zoom in the community that has expectations of the Black man. Then you have mothers, be it your mother, your children's mother, that has expectation as you as a Black man. Then, more importantly, your own expectation for yourself as a Black man. So you have all of these expectations that daily you are fighting through, that you are trying to navigate, on top of the way in which society has crafted us to be, or their expectations of us and what it is or how it is they want us to respond. And it's just like, dang, no matter which way I turn, there's an unresolved issue. There's an unresolved kind of expectation that I need to kind of hold myself accountable to. And so now I don't think I'm doing the best that I can and I'm going to be open to you critiquing me. Oh, no, because you don't know all this stuff I had to go through just as a Black man. How you think I'm going to just let you critique me?
Yeah.
No, because then even for us, here's us. Like, and if we keep it on, like if we keep it 100, we can easily be like, even like with having, you know, like even with co-parenting or even, you know, having like relationships with, you know, however, you can easily be like, but there's other men that's not even in their child's life. So you need to just accept what it is that I'm doing for my child because they went and did X, Y, and Z. That's not what, like, that's not something to be proud of. Like, at the end of the day, like, that's your responsibility, regardless of what roadblocks, what stumbling blocks whoever put in, from the child's mom to the white man to society, whoever, like, we have that responsibility to our child, to our children, to be a father. Yeah, we hope and wish that it's not as strenuous as some people make it or have made it, but it's still our responsibility.
And so, like, I think the roadblocks that were set against us, like even like that I'm familiar with, they were strategically placed, right? So it was like, I think back in the 60s or maybe 70s, they stopped doing trade schools and inner city schools. So like I know like my granddad worked in the mill and he made a good living and became a guardsman, but they shut that down, and where the Black man now, he's not, now his wife got to go out and work, which was like a slap in the face, because if you weren't able to provide for your household back then, if your wife had to work, a lot of people looked down on that. And then not only that, then they start giving the wife government assistance. So now what do I need this man for if the government's giving me money? And then they flooded the Black community in the 80s with crack. And so that like we're still suffering like the effects. Like a lot of us was crack babies, not me personally, but like a lot of us was crack babies. You know what I mean? And so yeah, and then now you're in the, and then you have to realize too, artist shaped culture, right? So our biggest artist now, Cardi B, you know, Meg Thee Stallion. You know, back then we had artists like Harry Belafonte and Bill Cosby. You know what I mean? Like those are two different type of artists. So artists shape culture.
Bill Cosby?
Huh?
Bill?
Bill.
Back in the day, he was doing.
Listen, Bill was a heck of a. Bill, he was an artist, so Bill played a doctor on TV. You never saw that before. He was a doctor. His wife was successful. They were a successful black family, and people aspired to be that. Just like when Wakanda came out, we was all Wakanda forever, even though it was just a movie. But artists shape culture. You know what I mean? So now, like you're looking at our culture now. Don't get me wrong, our culture is lit. You feel me? But it's like it's different type of artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now like we have all these things like against us, and it's like I say all that to say, and we're still making it happen. Like I'm proud of like our culture.
So what are some specific things that are against the black man? Like what are some specifics that you have felt, that you have experienced, that's against you as a black man?
Well, since I can speak because I got locks. You know what I mean? Since I've had them, there's been multiple times that I fit the description. You know, you like, I'm the passenger in the car. What'd you ask me for my information for? I'm not even driving. You know, oh, well, you know, there's something. I bet I do fit the description. So I'm gonna say the stigma that I've dealt with the most in the last, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 years, is that the black man or a black man is that has long hair is a drug dealer or he's violent. I had guns pulled on me by cops in the last 5 years. I don't do nothing. I stay home. You know, I was even being surveillance. We was working on a house that was abandoned for so long, and the people that bought it, when they was working on it, somebody called the cops. Cops came in with guns drawn and everything. You know what I mean? And so after that, there was always this cop car sitting at the top of the street, and I'm like, that's weird. That's never happened. You know what I mean? I grew up here in this house. A few months passed by. I got a rental car. I'm getting onto the parkway, and I got 7 or 8 undercover cars pulling me over. And I'm like, for what? And then it didn't help that I had that on me, you know. And what did he tell me to do?
What you have on you?
I had me that
what you have on you?
I had me that thing. You know what I'm saying? That thing. You know what I mean? But you know, it didn't help because I had other people in my, and the officer told me to hand him my gun. I'm like, and I snapped because you got me, and I used some verbiage that I'm not going to say today, but basically you got me messed up. But so the stigma that I see a lot, and you know, I still get nervous when I get pulled over. You know what I mean? Is that we're violent and we're all drug dealers. You know what I mean? Especially if you got locks. That's just the stigma. You know what I mean? So that's something that I deal with on a daily basis. Even when it comes to jobs, like when I do job interviews, I intentionally wear my hair down like this because I'm proving a point. Because I can pull it back, you know, but I pull it down on purpose because I'm proving a point. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's just one that I deal with personally on a regular basis.
What about you all?
So I would say the biggest thing for me is, I'm real passionate about it now, is that I always have to prove that I'm a good father to society. Like, society doesn't expect a black man to walk his daughters into the school without, when I first used to take my children, and now they love me. I'm a vice president of the PTA committee now. But when I first walked into,
yeah, go ahead.
But when I first walked in, you know, I try. You know,
you always the president of something. He always the president, the vice president, or something.
There you go,
Barack Obama.
You know what I mean? He always the president of something.
Barack Obama.
You know what I mean?
But you know, but like, you know, going into the school, and I'm here to pick up my girls. Well, I need your identification. And I'm like, no, you don't. I'm a Nika and Amira's father. Like, you don't need to know if I have a custody agreement or if I had this. I'm their father. Here's my identification, and bring my children down here, please. Thank you very much. Now, you question me again, I'll talk to your principal, and then we'll have another discussion.
And then you'll be the principal.
True. Let's go. Let's go. But that's a hurtful thing for to walk into a building with your children who love you and adore you, and they can tell that, you know, they all, this is obviously this man's kids, but to be questioned, like I go to the doctor's office and they're like, so where's the mother?
Look,
She here, like
Look,
I'm here,
look,
my kids,
look,
like,
you just triggered something to me.
treat
Because,
my children, or I'm going somewhere else.
listen,
You know, but that's the thing. Like, it's hard. Like, go ahead. I mean,
but I went on the doctor thing. This happened to me, and I ended up addressing it. But me and my wife are sitting in there now. Even if you don't think we married, you know what I'm saying? I get it, but you got two adults in here. Don't come in there just looking at my wife talking to her, and I'm sitting there like, looking at my wife like, she walk out, said, "Am I sitting here? Am I a ghost?" You know? Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm sitting there like, "Am I a ghost or something?" So when she came in, I'd be like, "Can you please address me as well? I am their father. I am their father." You know what I mean? So, I apologize. Da, da, da. Okay, that's cool. But I'm sitting there, and she acting like I'm her boyfriend or something. Them is her kid, not mine. You know?
But they don't expect. They expect a black woman to be single, estranged, and have a baby daddy. Like that's what they assume. So when you walk in there, they don't know that your husband, father, they're like, well, we don't know who this man is, but we're going to address this woman. We know that that's actually the mother. So we're not even going to acknowledge him until they identify that they are actually father.
Look, is it really the mother?
I wanted to touch on something TJ said, and I'm answering the question. The reason why dreadlocks were viewed the way they are in the United States is because there's two nations that stood up against white supremacy in one. So Ethiopia and Africa, they've never been colonized by anybody else. And a popular hairstyle in Ethiopia back in the day was dreadlocks, and then also Jamaica as well. They tried a lot of the slaves that got free went to the Caribbean islands, and they went to Jamaica, and they stood up against white supremacy, British colonization, everything, and defeated them. So dreadlocks were as a symbol, like if they got dreadlocks, they're warriors. No, they were warriors, and so it was frowned upon in the U.S. But also, I think one of our biggest things is black men in America too. Is I feel like we're the only culture that we're in competition with our women, and so I feel like a house divided cannot stand. And so until our woman learns how to forgive us, and this goes all the way back from slave masters raping, abusing our women, us being helpless, to even now, like just us having a stigma of deadbeat fathers and a whole bunch until our women learn to forgive us and we forgive them and we become united. I feel like that's going to be our biggest thing, like just being a competition with our women.
That's dope. So yeah, that's dope. I think all of those are really great, good, and healthy kind of realities for us. Like there's always like that idea of like competition between the black men and the black woman. And it's just like why is this when at the end of the day, as a black man, you're wanting this to kind of be something that is more so more so like a love and an affectionate kind of a relationship, opposed to recognizing, going back to the comment that I made earlier, like we're already in conflict with the world. We're already in conflict with everything else that is kind of going on. And so, yeah, those are absolutely true.
One thing I wanted to add too is that we're the only culture in the U.S. where our women make more money than us. So yeah, I feel like that's like that.
True.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we're in competition. Because like me, if I'm just being honest, like me and my woman had this conversation before. Like she's like, "Would you feel bad if I made more money than you?" And I'm just looking at like the money I make. I'm like, "Nah, sis, get that money," because I know like. but some men can't take that. You know what I mean? And I used to be like that. I used to be like, she's never gonna out earn me. But now maturity is like,
I'll say
that money,
sis. For me, in that, I've been the breadwinner since we've been together. You know what I mean? She, so I wouldn't care. It's your turn. That's what I say. Your turn. But at the same time, it would be weird. You know what I mean? It'll be different. It'll feel different. Because I'm used to her being at the house. I'm used to her taking care of the kids and stuff, and then to step back in the workforce, it would give me anxiety. It definitely would. I ain't gonna lie to you. Not because I'm jealous or anything like that, but I'm not. It's different. You know what I mean? I'll be calling at work like, everything good. Somebody tried you. What? Y'all need to come. Did your manager say something crazy to you?
It feels good.
I'm about to say, brother,
I
sweet
came home.
relief.
Yeah.
I came home and my girl had $1,000 pair of shoes waiting for me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so like my girl, like she just got her first full-time job after, I don't know, whatever. But we've been together. She's been in probably 2 years, so we've been together 9 years. So like after 7 years, you know what I mean? And it feels good, bro. Like we go out. She's like, oh no, babe, like I got it. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? It feels good. Like she's bought
Yeah,
a big
I can't-
beautiful
look, I can't
house.
wait.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
Well, to that end too, like, because I've been on both ends. Where the first, my first situation, I did not.
situation. Hold on. Can we clarify what's
His first entanglement.
Not yet. I'll be able to speak in a minute. Give me a few weeks. I can speak.
Okay.
Look, don't he sound like Jada Pinkett that situation?
Right.
My first situation though, I worked every day. I was the one. I had to work. I mean, at that point, I was grinding, trying to become.
Right.
And so there was a fight because it was like, dude, I'm working 16 hours a day, and I come home. You talk about here, this baby, like, what?
Right.
like you don't and have you? And I think that's where the fight comes in because it's just like, it was just like you're not acknowledging that I actually worked hard today for the family.
Mhm.
So it was this resentment with me, like, dude, all I do for X, Y, and Z, and you can't even acknowledge that I'm actually, putting in the work for the family, not for me, because everyone who know me know I'm not big on things. I'm not big on like name brand stuff. That's not like,
I am.
that's not he. I'm not like Dave. Dave got this. He got the dope. But my second relationship, my second marriage, I struggled because I did not know how to allow women to treat me or treat me well, but I did not understand how to allow her to be. And she, in her situation, she was the one who was bringing all the money in, and then now here we are. When I met her, we were kind of on the same wavelength, but God has blessed her. Praise the Lord. And so it was just like, what do you mean you bought me a $500 gift? Like, take it back, like, cause ain't nobody buy me no $500 gift. That can go to the rent. Like, are you crazy? But she's like, no, like, I really appreciate what you do for this family. So this is the least that I can do because I've never been in a place in my life where I didn't have to worry about a bill. And so this is the least I could do for you because of all you do for us. So to have that acknowledgement, like, oh, it's not like I'm not used to someone acknowledging, like, oh, I'm bad. Let's go. Let's go.
Talk heavy.
So now it's like, all right, so babe, Father's Day coming up, I want a TV, I want a lawnmower, I want a keyboard.
Look, you give somebody an edge.
I got a wish list now. Like, she's like, man, now she mad. Like, quit sending me a list. No, you should never start this. Start it, you better finish it. But it's dope now because it's like we can just be. It is good to have a partner to like. Yeah, it's not a competition. Babe, apply for that job. I mean, she asked me this one time because she knew that if she got this job, she's gonna make more money than me. I don't care.
Go get that job.
Get that money. And when you get that money, just pay a little bit more towards the rent next month. Like, we good. But like when you're working together as a team and moving towards a goal, and now that we're locked into our kind of careers, and now we're talking about building business together. Like now we're talking about another level of financial growth, and it's just like I would not have ever dreamed that there was a comfort and a joy in being a team with a woman. Because I thought I'm the man, I do my thing, and you better respect it or else. But there's a beauty in acknowledging that you two are working together and not against one another.
I don't have that issue, I guess. I don't have that issue. I mean, for me, I feel like I wouldn't mind at all my partner making more money than me, right? Like I wouldn't, huh?
Hold on, you don't have that. Wait, he don't got that issue because he can't find a woman to make more money than him.
No, that's not. No. So for me, I've never been big on things, right? Like I've never been big on things, and so it's the reality of like having a partnership with someone, and being able to say like, let's do these things. I'm not big on like materialistic things, right? However, I've always through my entire life created honestly like this way of living for myself that if I want it, that I will work to get it, right? Like that's how I've always created. Even if I like seen something today that I want and I may not be able to get it today, then that's my goal. Like I'm gonna go ahead and get it. And so like I've never had like the expectation of someone being able to do something for me. And so I've been in, relationships where people have done things for me and I've had to learn how to receive, like because I've always been used to doing for myself, right? And so that's just something that in an instance that, if I'm in a situation where this person is making more money, great. Because at the end of the day, like I'm hoping that this person is a great steward. I'm hoping this person is able to afford the life that they want to live. Because there's just certain things, to be honest, that like that don't really bother me. Like if you're doing like my frame of thinking when it comes to like females and like spending and things of that nature is a little different. That's another subject for a whole nother time frame. But like it's like at the end of the day, it's like if I'm going to be at competition, it's going to be a healthy competition. Like I want it to be like I want to outdo you in like giving to you, because I love kind of giving and serving and kind of putting a smile on your face or however that may be. But like I'm not going to be like, well, if you can't get this for me, then that's an issue. Because like at the end of the day, if you can't get it, I'm gonna go get it myself, And so that's an unfortunate reality for many people who have kind of put those barriers in their relationship and the insecurity of men as well. Because let me back. Let me kind of walk back. If that woman is mature, because what I individually don't like, if and when a person does something for me and then they tell, like they have to bring it up that they've done it for me, right? If you bought me something and now you got to tell people that you bought this for me, oh, you can have this thing back. I don't want it no more.
You ain't getting it back from me.
Like because that's just that's a mindset. Like that for me, that's a mindset, because like I'm like, so as a man, and maybe it kind of goes in and taps into pride, right? Like it taps into pride that you have to kind of come into the point of like, well, if you did this from love, or if you did this from a place of like, now I need to kind of show you what I've done for you, and this is like your end result that you need to kind of blast what you've done, then you don't got to do not a there, not a there, nada.
I think I used to think like that too, but now like I'd be like, man, I deserve these shoes. Like I earned these shoes.
I mean,
like,
so let me kind of in your scenario, absolutely you do, because you in your relationship, you've been doing like y'all have a dope relationship and you've held her down, she's held you down. So in that situation, I would say absolutely you do. But for someone that may not, everybody's situation, but for someone who may not have had the longevity of a relationship that you have done and went to the magnitude of kind of seeing your girl through, you know what I mean? Like, no, like this is, you know what I mean? Like this is small, you know what I mean? In a 9-year span to a 1-year span, like this is small. Like you've seen her through so many things. And so to say like, yo, this is $1,000 pair of shoes, that's what's up. You know what I mean? That's why your ring is coming next. You know what I mean?
She better get out. Look, women want to be equal to men. She better get that on one year proposed. All this equal rights. No, all right. So go ahead. You got. So how do y'all feel about because I was saying earlier how I feel like men like and women in Black culture are in competition. How do you feel about equality? Like I don't believe in equality as it relates to men and women.
Can you give us context of why you don't believe in equality?
So like there's just certain things that like I don't think should be equal. Yeah, like for instance, like I'm an electrician, right? And if I'm out there carrying 6-inch rigid conduit, which weighs like 200 pounds a stick, and there's this chick next to me who can't do it, and we getting paid the same, I'm gonna be mad if there's a dude next to me that can't do it and we getting paid the same. So like there, you get what I'm saying, or even equality on the lines of like I feel like the men should be the head and then the woman should submit, but also I feel like the man has to be wise enough to know when to listen to wisdom.
Man, we tapping into a whole another like low.
Where the white man go? No, seriously though, we tapped into something that we deal with as men when it comes. Because the one thing I was thinking about just sitting here is, you know, when I go out all day, you know what I mean, and I'm fighting the world all day, whether getting pulled by cops, whether it's me going into an office full of white people and thinking I have to prove a point. You know what I mean? Not that I have to, but it just crosses my mind. And then this, that, and the third. Then I come home.
It's a battle at home.
And then there's a battle at home. And it's like, okay, I just did all this to make sure we got this. And you gonna try me right now?
You want to argue?
You want to argue right now? You know what I mean? And as a man, the one thing that I'm trying my best to learn, and this is after years of being married, is to be able to turn the world off once I step foot in my house. You know what I mean? Because what happens is I step in the house with an attitude already. Like, she better not come down and mess with me.
That's good.
You know what I mean? That I'm already in fight mode. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who's ever been in a fight before, but after you get done fighting, you still ready. You still want to fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your adrenaline is up. Like, no, who else wants something? Like, you know what I mean? That's where you at. And a lot of times that happens when you
Knuck if you buck.
Knuck if you buck. Yeah, shoot. But when you come home, the littlest question can throw you off.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And it could be a very innocent question. But it's like, can you leave me alone for a minute? I just got in the house. Oh, well, you want me to leave you alone? You know, then it just turned into something else.
Yeah, so it's just like they don't understand that dynamic of like, yo, like, so I'm gonna be honest, and I shared this, like, when I step across the threshold, everybody is like, yo, you're Superman. But when I get home, I'm a little baby. Like, look, I'm a little baby. Like, listen, I'm a baby. And so it's like, and it's because like, for real, because it's like, I have to be so super out here. You know what I mean? Like, and I gotta be so hard out here that like, I need a space that I can just like let down my guard. And so that means I can say things without you being offended by it. I can joke and you don't take it like because I'm in this space with you. So because I'm in this space, I love you. Or I care for you, or X, Y, and Z. And so now I need to be careful about what I say when I come home, because you think for whatever reason, like, this isn't good. No, like, I just want to just
chill. And you know what I mean? And for me, you know, just a little bit of transparency. The thing that used to be my pet peeve is I'm at work all day. You know what I mean? Work full-time job, and I got my own business on the side. So I'm literally out from, I don't know when in the morning and then I coach on top of that. You know what I mean? I coach sports. So I'm not only working, but when I get home, I'm changing my clothes and going back out to work some more, basically. But when I come in the house, oh, the bill. All I hear is bill. And I'm like, you couldn't wait for like an hour for me to just relax. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? But I get it though. You know what I mean? I'm the breadwinner and I'm head of my household. So you're bringing issues up that deals with our household. But just like, it's like, for me, it was just fight mode as soon as I get home, because I knew in my head she's gonna say something. She's gonna say something and it's gonna set me off. You know what I mean? But I had to get to the point, and I'm still getting there to where once even if I got to sit in the car for like 5 minutes, just to kind of calm down a little bit and take a breath before because as soon as I step in the door, my dog is right there. So it's like as soon as I hit the door, my daughter, my youngest usually run down the steps to give me a hug. You know what I mean? So in order for me to be able to accept that like I'm supposed to, whereas usually it would just be like a little pat, how you doing, baby? And I walk off. You know what I mean? I had to understand that no, my daughter's engaging me. So I need to engage her as well. You know what I mean? How was your day? Ask her a quick question and stuff. But just being able to turn the world off once you get home alleviates some of the issue. You know what I mean? Because when you don't, you create issues where there is no issues. You know what I mean? And then that can lead to a chain reaction of other issues. You know what I mean? So just as a black man, understanding that I think helps a lot if you're in a relationship and you do have kids, when you are able to, because I mean, if you're on alone, obviously you ain't got like everything, but you got 4 or 5 kids, 3 kids, like you got stuff happening when you walk in the house. Being able to turn off everything that you were dealing with out there to deal with, you're in a whole new world, right? Basically, you know what I mean. You're going doing this, doing that. You know what I mean. You're turning this on, turn that off. I think it helps a lot. And yeah.
What you got, Charles?
Well, I did. So I answered Dave's question shortly, but just to go off of you, I think it's very important. I had to learn too to be intentional. Thank God that I have. She's mature. I'll leave it at that.
Charles always trying to get bounty points when he come here.
She's a little bit older than me. So like what he thinks is differently. So one of the things that I've learned is to intentionally. The first thing I do when I come home is me and her have our time, and that time is like, how was your day? And it's like usually like between a half an hour and an hour, and we'll walk through my day. At 8 o'clock this morning, I did as well, and I'll just literally go through my whole day with her, and vice versa. She does the same thing with me, and then once that's over, I'm going downstairs. Like I can go play video games. I can go to church. I can do whatever because she's feeling like that her need to engage with her husband has been met and we're done. Like she can go up in her room and watch her shows and we don't got to sit down the rest of the night. It's the best thing ever. I never ever played a video game and then what's up on, excuse me. I go turn the game on and I just play. It's the greatest thing ever. But that has it come from being intentional. Like, so now it's like clockwork. Like now we even start earlier. If I get off at 3:30, hey babe, hey, how was your day?
He said he tries to start early to get it done.
When I get home at 3:45, at 4:15, we done. And I go for my business. But to answer Dave's question about equality, I think there has to be. I don't agree that everything should be equal. Right? Both ways. Like we shouldn't expect to do the same thing that women do. Because I tell you right now, I'm not giving no childbirth.
Well, so
like I'm not. But like for instance, like things like let's just bring it down to like gender roles. Like things that are expected of men versus women. Like it's expected that a man should take the trash out. It's tonight's Thursday. When I go home, I gotta take them cans down there tonight. If I don't, then it's gonna be a long weekend for me. But it's just like that's expected of a man to do. I don't go home and expect my wife to take the garbage out, and I do it now with pride. Now I have a problem doing dishes. I have a problem doing dishes.
I thought you loved doing dishes.
Not now. Like now, I have to now. I know that my wife gets excited when she comes home and the dishes is done. Like, I can tell you right now. Like the other night.
So what kind of excitement are you referencing?
I'm just gonna say what it is. My wife is like, oh, you about to get some. Checkmate. Because I didn't because you know I hate dishes. I don't want my hands get like my hands legit like get messed up like because of water. So I just hate it because I hate put my hands in water. But she know that I didn't push past all of my not wanting to do the dishes. Like for her, it's like, yo, he stepped outside of him to do something that for me because he knew that I was out and that when I come home, I'm not gonna want to have to do dishes as well. But I mean, I'm waiting for the day I come home and the garbage is out.
So when you guys talk about that, and again, my thought process is a little different, and I just feel like at the end of the day, to me, those are preferences. I feel like women and men, and just in a society that we live in, like women prefer not to take out the trash. But if a woman is living on her own, she has to take out the trash.
Look,
You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, it's just like when you come together and you begin to have conversation and you begin to fuse your life, I personally don't feel like it's like, I feel like whatever needs to be done needs to get done.
yes.
And I feel like when you begin to try to say like this is a man's responsibility and a woman's responsibility, I feel like if you agree to do that, because at the end of the day, Tom, we talked about this.
Yeah.
You oftentimes talk about how you cook, most of the meals or X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Some women can't cook.
Yeah.
And if you can't cook, we can easily sit here and be like, it's a woman's job to know how to cook. If you can't cook, stay out the kitchen, my G. You know what I mean? And so it's just like the system that you create among yourself. I'll give you an example, and I thought this was like super dope. There's a national recording artist and like whatever, like, and he began to talk about the dynamic of he and his wife's relationship. And what he began to share was the fact like there were things that society would say, yo, like his wife made more than he did. Like she was like a big doctor, and like a professor, and he's a national recording artist, but it worked better for him to kind of be the stay-at-home kind of parent with the children. And so he was making sure dinner and things was done, X, Y, and Z. And so people looked at him like, yo, like you were weak. And he was just like, no, I'm not weak, actually, because my wife actually respects me even the more. Everything that she's doing and everything that, like, we talk about all of it. She doesn't belittle me. She doesn't like, I actually make those decisions because we made this together, and that works for us. Yeah. And I think what happens is we try to allow the society, especially, and again, this is to tap into a whole nother part that's not even God's society, because it's not even God's word or not even his world, so to speak, or even his context. And we allow that to govern how it is that we govern our entire lives. And so it's just like, no, like that doesn't work for everybody. Yeah. If you've been taking out the trash at your own crib and something happens, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to do anything that's uncomfortable, but love is sacrifice. And getting the job done requires for you to do some things sometimes that you don't prefer to do. Period.
Look, in my household, my wife takes the trash out sometimes. And the other day, she said, "You go cut grass?" I said, "You know how to cut grass? You go out there and cut it." You know what I mean? Because I don't in my house, I don't do the gender role thing. You know what I mean? It's like my wife, she'll like, I might in the morning, I might take the trash out to the curb. But if you see the garbage get piled up, take the bag out the trash. It ain't that hard. If you all these times you done came and cut grass with me. If you want the grass cut, I got 3 lawnmowers down there. Right. You get it. You know what I mean? You go out and cut the grass. The only thing. And
she might get some nookie that night, huh? Right? She might get some nookie.
Look, she ain't got to do nothing and get the nookie. You just get it. You know what I mean? Shoot. But the only thing that I would say in my household that I take full responsibility for is protection. You know what I mean? The other night we laying in the bed. I had a little bit of PTSD. We in the bed, my kids ain't home. So my dog, you know what I mean, he's downstairs in the living room at nighttime because he's a guard dog. You know what I'm saying? If something's happening, he's gonna bark. So My wife put this fan up somewhere. I don't know what she was doing. The fan fell. Sounded like somebody was coming in the window. I'm laying in the bed. The dog barking. You know what I did first.
What you do first, bro? What's
I'm reaching. I'm reaching around.
What you reaching for?
I'm reaching around for peace.
Okay.
So whatever's moving can be still.
But we
understand?
all licensed.
Amen.
We all licensed.
I know
up
that.
here. So
Yeah.
like that's my whole thing. Like
so I get to reaching because I'm in go mode at this point because it sounds like somebody's coming in my house. You know what I mean? And then come to find out, oh, the fan failed. I'm like, you can't be doing that to me. Now my adrenaline's up. You know what I mean? I can't go to sleep. Yeah, you know what I mean? But that's the only thing in my household that is specifically my responsibility. Everything else is shared. You know what I mean? If you see the garbage and you take it out, take it out. You see the bathroom you clean, clean it. If I see the bathroom you clean, I'll clean it. If I see the floor you swept, I'll sweep it. You same with you. You know what I mean? If there's a load of clothes that need wash, I'll wash it. But at the same time, you can wash clothes too.
We got to get this job done. Like that's how I look at it. Like
by any means necessary.
The job has to be done. And I feel like, yes, there may be preferences that you don't like to do. And as a person who loves you or a person who cares for you, I'm going to do my best. We should do our best to kind of like lighten that load. But at the end of the day, if there was no us, you would have to get that done regardless. And that's how I look at it. Like you have to, you know what I mean? Like that whole gender role thing is, I think is necessary. I think it's challenging when you're talking to people who are not open-minded and do not look at it from a perspective of if there wasn't two, this one would have to kind of do that, right? And so it's like be mindful of what that looks like and what that feels like, and how it is that we allow society to navigate what works best for us in our own homes.
Exactly. And I'm the type that be like, somebody will drop something off, like, and I'll be upstairs. Okay, you come get it. She can pick that up. What are you talking about? She can pick that box up.
So I have a question. I want to kind of spin it back to the topic, and then we can kind of maybe wrap up. And if those of you that are watching, if you have any specific questions that you want us to tackle or to answer, feel free to drop them. But yeah, we see y'all talking stuff. Just the Capri Dog mom, she ain't taking no trash out, but she said she didn't wash no laundry, so she don't know how to sort clothes or nothing. Okay, we understand that, but she can short cook. You can short cook. Your husband ain't gonna make you take out no trash because your food fire. Charles' wife, she said, "Oh, she ready? Okay, no problem. We see that. Okay, y'all playing on this." So the question that I want to ask you guys. So we talked about the white man is not basically the responsible, for everything that kind of happens to us as Black men. Yeah. I want us, if you guys could recall a positive moment that a white counterpart played in your life, like a positive, something positive that being, that they've kind of helped, support, encourage, so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's easy for me. Mr. Ferd. He was a friend of the family before I met him. He went to school with my Uncle Ricky, so but he was my culinary teacher at Ford's. And when he see my name, we kind of clicked, and from there we became cool. When I got to my senior year, I worked for him with his landscaping business or whatever. So from there, every summer I came back, I automatically had a job. You know what I mean? For one. For two, I got to meet some people and learn some new skills, like how to put a retaining wall up and stuff. I would go from working from him to working with one of his friends. They had a retaining wall company, multi-million-dollar business. You know what I mean? And from there, when I decided to do my own landscaping business, he made sure I had the first thing that I got was a weed whacker. He got it for me. The weed whacker was about $400, but he looked at it as an investment, and he wanted me to do great. You know what I mean? But he always helped me out in different ways. Like I do so many different ways that I can say that he He helped me, and including when I used to get the dump truck and be able to go make my own money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He had resources that he would let me use with no problem. Like he'd be like, "Why you even ask? Like just go ahead and do it. Just put some gas in there and stuff like that." So that he's probably the main person that that really helped me out. Like till this day. You know what I mean? You talking about what 15 years later, we still talk. You know what I mean? I'll still go out to his house occasionally. We'll grill out and all types of stuff. Play with my daughters, run from his chickens and all types of stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's a real like friend. At this point.
Charles, Dave.
I mean, I would say that definitely my when I was 11th grade, my principal, Mr. Slanger, he I mean, for those who do know me, my wife doesn't believe it to this day that I was to be bad. Like I was horrible. Like I was a horrible child.
You used to get whooped at school.
I was always suspended. Like it went down. I never forget. Like maybe at the beginning of the school year, I did something stupid and got in trouble. Now, Woodland Hills, all of you who know Woodland Hills back in the day, being like it is now, but back in the day, we had a no tolerance policy. So the littlest thing could get you suspended, like for 3 days, 5 days, whatever. So when I did something stupid. I flicked the French fry lunch, and so he came in like, I got suspended you for 3 days, right? I'm like, well, wait a minute, what? I just flicked the fry like that. Like, that's actually assault. And so he said to me, and I'll never forget these words. He said, Charles, I taught your mother in grade school. I taught her English in high school. He said, you're not like this. Like, this is not you. He like, I don't know what you're trying to prove. He said, but this is not you. And then he said, until you decide to be Charles and not be anyone else, he's like, you're going to do great things. He said, I see you going to college. Now, at that point, I'd never seen me going to college. I was just like, I mean, after I got 18, I said, it's a wrap. Like, yeah, will give me a job, and it's what it is. Like, I'll get out of mom's house, like, see you, bye. But, like, he was like, I see you going to college, and I see you doing big things for yourself. So that following Friday, my English teacher, Miss, what's her name? Mrs. Simchuk, Mrs. M. She said, Charles, she's like, where are you going to college? I said, I ain't going to college. Like, you know what I mean? She said, like, don't you know that you're going to be incredibly successful? And at that time, I come from a family, like Dave said, we was in the struggle on drugs, all kinds of stuff. I lived the struggle. So I couldn't see that for myself. But it took these two white individuals, not mom, not dad, not my church family, none of that. I mean, let's just be real. Like, it took two white individuals to say, you know what, I see greatness in you, even when you don't see it in yourself. And from that day, I was never suspended again. I went for a whole year and a half, never was suspended. Turned my whole, I was getting F's at school. It was bad to the point where I was able to turn my GPA all the way back like 3.1 when I graduated. But if it had not been for those two individuals, I don't know if I would be where I am today, because they spoke life into me. They didn't speak the Holy Ghost into me, but they spoke life into Charles, like that man, that I could be somebody. So
that's dope. That's really dope.
I think mine was July 21st, 2011, and I was in a car crash on Ardmore Boulevard. And I remember I was just freaking out. I thought I killed my homies, and it was just a bad crash. But I remember like this white dude pulling over, and he just like he started talking to me real calm, and he like helped me. He put me in his car. I remember I was bleeding everywhere, and I was just thinking like, yo, I wouldn't let nobody in my car like bleeding like this. But he was talking to me, and he calmed me down to the ambulance, got there, and then like he just dipped, like, and I was just like, man, damn, I wish I knew who he was. Like, I'd do something nice for him, but he just, pretty much just sat there, calmed me down. I don't know if he prayed or not, but I just remember feeling like a peace. You know what I mean? Like after he, was just talking to me, and that was pretty much it. But it was a white dude.
That's dope. I guess my experience, I mean, I have quite a few of them. I think my experience would be when I went to college. I think I was sharing this to you guys earlier. When I went to college, I had no clue about anything with college. And here's the thing, like, I thought college was free. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I really thought college was free. I had no clue about anything around like financial aid, anything about, needing to pay for college, anything. Because like my family, my brother had went to college on a scholarship for football, and that was like maybe like 2 years before. And so like my parents really didn't kind of talk about like college. Like college was just like, I guess that's the next thing you do after high school. And so um, when I get there, his name was Mr. Dave Calvario, and I had to take this, I guess this like course of introduction to college, and I had to write this paper. And when I tell you that this paper was horrible, like I mean, this paper was I mean, the whole paper was horrible. Like, it was horrible. And and so he like pulled me aside. Mind you, like I'm probably like one of the only Black people in the classroom. And he's like talking to me. We're having a conversation. And slowly but surely, like I'm telling him like my scenario, like my home scenario, everything. And all I know is through the duration of like my college experience, he was there. It was to the point where like he really was like calling, and I'm huge on this. I'm really huge on this, and this is a different topic for another day. I don't let people like just call me their son, and I'm not one to be like, this is my father. Like I don't do that because I have expectations. If I'm gonna call you my father, like I have expectations that you're going to be fatherly, not just for a reason. But I'm going to be 100% honest. Like he treated me like a son, and honestly, like he took me under his wing, like he was like a father. And it was interesting because like I would be on campus, and he was just always just ensuring that like I was okay. And there were times where, I mean, he just always created opportunities for me on campus. And like, even till the day of graduation, like it was just like this expressing. And I feel like if it was not for him, I certainly wouldn't have graduated college for real, because I was just, college was beyond me. And then he began to kind of work with me in areas that I was really deficient in. There were other friends, like, white friends that my roommate or white roommate used to bring me home from college because my parents wasn't coming to get me. They thought it was the responsibility of my roommate. And I'm just like, Dad, Tom came up to the school, took me to take my driver's test in his big truck. I failed that thing, right? Like I felt like he had this Tomahawk truck. And I appreciated that because he came all the way from Clarion to take me to take my driver's test. And I wish I could tell y'all about the times before I went to college. This would be a good segue in the whole, our parents talking about the white man. My dad like blamed me not being able to take my driver's test on the white man because he ain't have an up-to-date insurance. I'm like, how you gonna blame them? Like they told you, like it's like the white man never wants you to have that. I'm like, what? Like, dude, we drove all the way out here, and you don't got no up-to-date insurance, dog. And you gonna blame the white man because he won't just let you go. And so one of my roommates, hall roommates, actually took me, a white man, took me to get my driver's license. Like in his car, didn't know me from mechanic paint, never seen me like he didn't know. Like I took it with Tom and I failed it, and he was just like, listen. And his name, dang, all of these Daves. His name was Dave, Dave Mason. And I'll never forget it because like I went and I passed it. I passed my test, and I was just sitting there like, yo, this is crazy. And I just began to think about all of the positive, influential white people who have had different roles throughout my journey to say, like, yes, there are people, white people that are racist and that may not care about me or even about us, but there are those who do care about our well-being and do care, genuinely care, not just, just trying to care because they're trying to figure out where they fit in this whole Black Lives Matter kind of context, but genuinely care and want genuine relationships with us. So I think that's dope. Was there something you want to say?
Yeah, you said something nice about those 2 days. What about me?
This Black Dave.
Come to the house and eat all my.
This Black Dave, because Black people don't want to see you in that. No, but I just think, to kind of basically conclude, because nobody really had, when sometimes oppress ourselves and sometimes it's just our right. Cool. So y'all really ain't had no questions for us or whatever. That's cool. Yeah, man. So tonight, we're about to end out, but I think for us, I think for me, it's really being able to discern, so to speak, people's intentions and the reality, and not trying to shape every white person or every white perspective in a box to say that this person is racist, even if they do something bad against us, unintentionally, because I feel like there are times where people really just have a bad day, right? Like they're going through life just like we're going through life. They could have lost a loved one just like we lost a loved one, and just because that interaction that we had that day, our go-to is we're acting like that because I'm Black, or you're doing that to me because I'm Black. And it's just like, no. But there are some people who are just outright racist. Any closing remarks from you guys before we kind of get out of here?
Yeah, Toya said, when you having us come on? Never, Toya. Never, okay? Say no, I'm just playing.
Homies.
You got to come in town for you to come on. What you about to pop up on the Zoom screen?
I think I want to leave with this. Just like we got to do better as, I'll just say, Black men. Like we really gotta. I don't want to use reports of up, but we really gotta be more accountable, not only to our family, because they look to us for how, like, we really shape our children, and I don't think we really realize that. Like, it's so hard to break a curse. Like, it's so hard to break a generational curse. Like, because I can actually legit see pieces of my parents and grandparents' curse, not just on me, but like my siblings and people connected to me. Like, you can physically see the curse, and it's so hard to break the curse of what your predecessors downloaded into your system. So we got to be really wise about what we download to our children and what we give to our family and what we give to our wife and our babies, because I promise you, what we are, they're going to struggle to either become or break. And so that's it.
Man, that was dope.
Yeah, that's really good. Mm-hmm. What about you, Tom? Like, what's any closing, any thoughts, any?
I don't know. I guess I just look at it as we have to be in a position where we can be held accountable. You know what I mean? I think we're so stuck on being Superman when we're out in public, that we just continue to have that Superman cape on everywhere we go. And with the people that we love that's trying to help us, oh no, I don't need your help, I'm good. You know what I mean? Instead of being able to, just be human for a minute and be like, you know what? Thanks for telling me that. That's not something I really thought about. So I think we just need to be, I guess the three words that I guess I'd leave with is maturity, being humble, and being accountable. You know what I mean? If we can, as not just as a culture, but as black men too, as black men and as a culture, if we can learn those things, then I think that things will be good. You know what I mean? If we can be able to hold each other accountable, you know, that that's a good thing. You know, because that means somebody's looking at you and watching what you do. You know what I mean? And because there's people in my life that I know that's gonna hold me accountable. And because of that, there's a way that I act when I'm around. I carry myself differently.
Right.
Because I have respect for what they're gonna say to me. There's people that I call, like, I ain't calling a minute. I'm gonna get cussed out. You know what I mean? And I know it's coming. And lo and behold, I ain't hear from you in a minute. I'm sorry. I apologize. I need to do better with my communication. But it feels good to be held accountable. You know what I mean? Because it keeps you on your toes.
Right.
You know what I mean? It don't allow you to sit back and just allow things to happen when you got somebody constantly on you or trying to help you. You know what I mean? It kind of makes you more active in what you're trying to achieve. You know what I mean?
Got you.
If I ain't tell my closing remarks, if I don't tell my kids nothing else, I tell them this: if you don't speak in tongues, you ain't got the Holy Ghost.
This dude, man.
That's my closing remarks.
He tried to kill me. He tried to kill me.
Yo.
You gonna wait till I start taking a sip.
Edit that one.
This dude, man. This dude, man. So, I mean, for me, it's just really speaking life and power to every black man that is listening, that will listen, to say to you, like, no matter where you are on your journey, yes, there are barriers, and yes, there's strongholds. Yes, there are, even expectations that you may feel as though that you felt yourself and that you feel like you're failing. But I think what's powerful is when you surround yourself around other people that can keep you accountable, that can speak into you and challenge you to become better. And I think how that comes about, regardless if you're spiritual or non-spiritual, I believe that, like, it's important for you to tap into faith. And for me and for us at this table, I believe it's honestly a relationship with God. And when you begin to kind of seek and to tap into a relationship with God, you recognize that, yes, we are inferior to God, but God is superior, but it's in him that we become strong. And I think it's the reality of knowing how, as a man, to be humble, right? Like, and in that, through the word and through just life happenings, it kind of strengthens us. And so I just encourage every man and women that are listening to this, I encourage you to encourage your man, to strengthen your man by praying for him and not always down talking and always having negative things. Like, just as much as you talk about him to your friends, should be the same capacity that you're praying for him. Like like, if you're talking to your girlfriends, your mom, and your family about your man in a negative way, that should double in prayer. That's just my perspective. Because at the end of the day, like, what you say out of your mouth is powerful. Like, it's really powerful. And so many men, come on, 50 Cent. Many men don't really understand or don't feel as though they have people that are supporting them. And so even as a man that is trying to battle the world, your prayers are more important. And maybe it may not be that he's open to the criticism of men around him, but we serve a God that has the ability to get our attention. And so, man, yeah, pray for your man. Pray for Black men all over.
Amen.
So that we are strengthened and that we are encouraged, and that, you know, when we go across the thresholds of life, that we're safe and that we're being protected and that we are protectors, that God just continues to just kind of to do our thing. So yeah, man, we're done for the night, man. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We're back at it next Thursday and the Thursday after that. Like, we're super excited about just having these conversations. And so Charles kind of mentioned in here kind of like the battle of like the sexes and things of that nature. We want you guys to kind of drop some subject and topics that you want us to kind of discuss. We kind of have different individuals each week. Last week's discussion was phenomenal. If you didn't listen to it, I encourage you to go back to it. We talked about soul ties. And I had, 4 panelists that were here, and they were able to kind of give insight. So if you haven't watched last week's session, go back to it. I promise you, like, you would be blessed and encouraged. But if there's specific topics that you want us to address and to engage on, and even if you want to be a part of some of these discussions, literally drop that information. There is something that I want to kind of share with you all as well. We're going to do some segments where people are really sharing their testimony, like legit, not a segment, but people are talking about their life and how God and how their life has kind of unfolded in various ways. And so if you feel as though that you have a testimony, if you have something that is encouraging and inspiring, that you are comfortable sharing your story, because we understand that people overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. So we want to create space where people are able to hear testimonies of people. And it doesn't have to be, giving honor to God, X, Y, and Z. No, like, we really want to kind of hear the dynamics of the shifts in your life. And so if you feel like you have something that will encourage and inspire, and you would be open to be interviewed and to share that, please reach out to me, because there are some people who have already reached out, and we're just like, let's do it. Let's kind of encourage the people, because people are encouraged in different ways. So let's do it. We're done for the night. Y'all, anything y'all want to say?
Yeah, I do actually have one more thing to say.
All right.
For those those that may not have nobody that's accountable, find somebody that you respect enough to hold you accountable. Don't wait for somebody to come to you. Actually go out and be like, you know what? I need you to hold me accountable. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. You know what I mean? Because we all need somebody to hold us accountable. So if you feel like you don't have anybody to hold you accountable, find somebody that you trust. Have a conversation with them. Like, you know what? I really need somebody to hold me accountable with this. It can be a specific thing. You know what I mean? But find somebody to hold you accountable. Don't just be like, well, I ain't got nobody to hold me accountable. Go find somebody to do that.
Yeah, accountability is dope. Like, it is necessary, definitely, for growth. And I feel like if you don't have accountability, you're probably not going to be growing in specific areas. Dave and I, we are actually keeping each other accountable this month for some specific things. And then I also have 2 other individuals who I literally call like my accountability partners. And like, they're my brothers as well. And so, we kind of talk about really the nuances and the reality of our lives. And so it's important. And Charles, TJ, and I, we used to do that. Like, we literally used to sit down every week and sit down and be like, yo, bro, you doing too much. Like, you doing too much. And we used to have these candid conversations with each other. And so we probably need to kind of begin to create space like that for just men in general. And sometimes it doesn't happen in an open forum. But yeah, man, if you guys are looking, if you know men that are looking and you're comfortable with creating accountability, even if it's one of us 4, that you reach out to us and like, hey, I would love for one of you guys to kind of be my accountability partner. I remember, dang, I'm sorry, I really want to leave, but I remember it all happened at Eaton Park. We was all just kicking it. This when we were super young, and that's why I still call Tom's sisters PP because we were prayer partners, and so we all from different churches had created like people that we were going to be accountable for, and you know what I mean. And so I still call them PP when I say them like, hey PP, because they were my prayer partner, and so. Those things are necessary, even in this day of age. Like it's totally necessary. So yeah. Yeah, man, we out of here. We out of here. Reach out. Black men, we love you. Naira, look, I gotta give a shout out to my baby girl. She's worked both the cameras, worked the little system in the back. She's right here in our face right now, looking at us like, are y'all done yet? So I love you and I appreciate you. And we out this joint.
And I beat her in a dance battle.
Like, share, subscribe. That's what she's telling me to say. Like, share, subscribe to our YouTube page. And if you don't know what it is, it's Connect TV. You know, I gotta listen to our director. All right, y'all. We out of here. Until next week. You guys be blessed. Sean said he go home to do the dishes. This dude, man.